So, kind of didn't mind the slightly later start time. Had a great chance to catch up with this panel. I think you'll really enjoy it. But I'm a bit of a quote person, so I thought, got to start off with a quote. Every generation inherits a world it never made. And as it does so, it automatically becomes the trustee of that world for those who come after. And some of you may recognize that from Robert Kennedy, and he was really kind of throwing it out there that, we're going to be talking about a couple of generations that didn't sort of create a lot of the challenges that we've all been talking about today, but they're inheriting it, and not only that, they're going to be asked to make it a better world. So a daunting challenge. There's been other conversations this week. It's fascinating over the first few days on the youth and what's happening to youth. What are they doing? What's the impact? So we want to delve today a little bit differently. We're going to talk about what makes, now, for the Canadians in the room, Gen Z, but I think because my panel is mainly American, we'll go with, I think, Gen Z.
I think we're Cali people.
And Gen Z, I mean, there's some debate, but I think we can agree it's sort of 1997 to about 2010, 2011, 2012. Yeah, there's some debate. And then the Alpha generation, which is kind of 2012 to today. So those two generations we're going to be talking about. We're going to kind of talk about what makes them different. What are they doing to kind of create different worlds? And what's the impact for older generations? We're then going to look at some of the specific tools they're using, because the way they're using the technology, very, very different. And lastly, we're going to touch on what does that mean for brands and partners working with this group, respecting what this group needs in order to thrive in this world. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves and then jump into question number one.
Start? All right. Hi, everyone. Vera Chien. I'm currently at Warner Bros. Discovery in the Global Corporate Strategy and Insights team. Prior to this, I was at Microsoft leading insights for Xbox, Minecraft, HoloLens, and before that, started off my career at Mattel. So a lot of toys and games and youth, obviously, in my background.
For many years, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Vera. Brenda.
Hi, my name is Brenda. Thanks. Hi, my name is Brenda. I'm an immersive media director and artist. I work at the intersection of art, music, tech, and gaming. A lot of my past work was in VR/AR development, designing interactive installations and virtual concerts. I directed Justin Bieber and John Legend's virtual concerts, and then currently I work with large brands to design immersive experiences and games in platforms like Roblox and Fortnite. So lots of content for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, so yeah.
Perfect. Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. Currently at AXON, designer there. I've worked in mixed reality in the space for like 15 years now. I used to work at Disney and Microsoft HoloLens as well. And Genies as well. Doing different types of digital representation for folks and sensor fusion and interactive fun experiences as well through that arena.
Yeah, and special thanks to yourself for kind of jumping in, not last minute, kind of medium minute, but we're thrilled to have you here. So let's kick it off. I think what I'd like each of the panelists to do is paint a bit of a picture for our gathering. Like, what is different about Gen Z and Alpha and the way they are kind of coming into the world, changing the world? What's different? Like, what's kind of happening with this group? And maybe we'll start with you, Brandon, and work back this way.
As someone I think that likes to, I'll say, create for them, they're really good with the technology. So it's always been really fun when you have different studies, and when we were working on HoloLens or just across the space and how they actually interact with their phones, they're way better. And then we also have their parents that we target, which is also interesting, and trying to understand how to get them to buy into the technologies that their kids are already doing well at. I don't know, but I'll pass it on from there. It's pretty general.
Yeah, and just an interesting point, and we'll come back to that, the kind of role of parents and kind of how do they, because they're key stakeholders in this whole conversation.
I think what makes Gen Z really interesting is that they actually grew up with technology. And so there's almost, like, for most people, if you're playing like an online game, you have a virtual avatar. You're like, oh, this is just like an avatar. But for kids that actually grew up on like Roblox or all these other platforms, like there's almost a blurring between the digital and the physical world for them. So their avatar is more important because it actually feels like an actual representation of them. And so, yeah, I think that's really fascinating from at least my point of view for my work.
And maybe just because the group may not have had the exposure you've had with, say Roblox and so on. Like, just take us through a little bit, kind of, you're setting up a Roblox account, avatar. Like, give us just a short little description of what goes on.
Yeah, so Roblox is kind of like an open world platform, right? So I think for most of our generation, like we're on Facebook, so we show up as like our profile picture and we're coming as ourselves. But when you enter Roblox, it's this whole digital video game like world, right? And so you get this little like Roblox character, and you can, add your clothes, add your hair, you can not even be a human, and you enter all these different games and all these different like, experiences within Roblox like as your avatar. So it's almost like you're living a second like digital life in like an alternate reality, and that reality is on Roblox, which is this like digital open world gaming platform.
Wow, yeah, so really kind of, as you said, very immersive, very kind of digital, real-world interactions, yeah. And Vera, what's your insight? What's going on with this group?
Yeah, so when it comes to content, including games, I think of the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And it's basically, that is what their expectation is. They expect everything on every device, everywhere. And all you can eat is becoming their expectation. I think another area that these guys already touched on too is like the idea of agency, and especially Gen Alpha are being born thinking and knowing that they can create the world they want to be, the game, the experience, how they show up and how they look, to a much, much greater degree. And they're having that sort of level of expectation that they're getting from like platforms like Roblox, and expecting that from other interfaces and other services and other platforms they encounter.
That's fast. Yeah, because it sets the bar for everything else. And it just listening to you guys, it sounds like it's more than just when I was kind of researching the topic, looking into it, I thought, okay, yeah, video gaming, et cetera. But it sounds like there's a lot more going on.
Well, it just brings to mind also one thing when I'm thinking about kind of the shell experience, or when we have like Vision Pro released, and all of these more interactive experiences. When we think of Roblox, that's been the game, but now we have the opportunity to bring that, say, into your environment in your living room. So how do kids start to set up the digital content that they're seeing? With a good example would be the holograms, and how do I then either like, for those of you that use Vision Pro, but you can like immerse yourself into some other world and watch your TV there, or you can kind of be in your own environment. But that interaction is already much more engaging and exciting for that younger generation. And they can do it. Like my parents, they'd be like, "What the hell is this?" So now we're making a better experience where they can opt as far as they want into the experience or not, and we now are giving them that agency, which is awesome.
And just something you touched on, are parents allowed in these environments? You kind of touched on parents being around. I think, Brenda, you had a great little story that kind of came up in our pre-chat. I'd love it if you'd share that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously parents are allowed on Roblox, but I think in the same way that like parents don't really, like people are like, ew, Facebook or whatever for children, like I feel like parents in the same way like have a hard time understanding like the culture. But some parents are getting a little smarter. Like that funny anecdote we talked about was this mom was trying to contact, I think, her kid to do some chore, I don't know, like maybe take something out of the freezer, and couldn't reach her kid. And so she ended up making a Roblox avatar and finding her kid on Roblox and then telling her to go do like whatever chore it was on Roblox.
Wow, yeah. And is that allowed? I mean, is that parents aren't banned? They can create accounts and kind of.
I mean, anyone can create an account, right? I mean, it's kind of a security issue. Like, there's a lot of like creepy.
Yes, absolutely.
People trying to get children now making Roblox accounts, and it's definitely
right. So that's
terrifying.
Different level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vera, anything to add to that, just from what you've seen in terms of the way that kids are sort of blending entertainment, educate? It seems to be all kind of coming together.
Yeah, totally. That anecdote reminded me of, we oftentimes do ethnography, do ethnographic research where we go into people's homes or we go shopping with them, whatever the objective is. And this one case, we went to this family's home. This was back when I was at Xbox, and we were trying to understand, okay, what is the future of entertainment? What are they doing? And we were talking, to the parents, and then, the kid comes home. I think he was like 7 years old, and he's like, oh, hey, Mom, can I, bring, XYZ, Bobby, Mikey, and whoever. We're gonna have a play day. And I was like, and the mom's like, yeah, sure. And I was thinking in my mind, like, oh my God, awesome. We're gonna have see kids during our session playing, having that, and getting some great, hopefully observational, insights out of it. And I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna play basically a local co-op, maybe Mario Kart, where one's playing and a few others are playing, or maybe they're gonna go out in the backyard and do some Nerf guns. And what they ended up doing was kids came over, they basically opened up their laptops, put on their headset, and it was then all four of them for the next hour just stayed there and was they were playing Fortnite. And it was very boring to observe at the time, but then when I reflected back, I was like, this is such a typical kind of now, this is the modern day kind of play date, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, similar to that anecdote, just something to really think about as, these different platforms and expectations and needs that these kind of platforms are delivering for kids in a way that's much more appealing than other forms of more traditional play.
Yeah, and as we've said a couple of times, it resets expectations, because we're looking at that going, oh, gee, is that really kind of fun? And they're going, not only is it fun, but we want everything else to work that way. So let's break it down a little bit more, and maybe back to you, Brandon. What else is going on? We've talked about Roblox, Minecraft. What other tools kind of have you observed? I mean, AI, other things that maybe this generation's using a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think actually when I say, or as far as the tools go, I'll use the example of a project that I've been really excited for, and that's for Ocean Explorers that comes out in August. And the tools that we were trying to look at is, as you're saying, Vera, basically how do you get basically the kids excited and involved in using the technology, also the parents, so cross-generational and all using that technology, but then deliver them some content which I think does strike really well with the younger generation, which is authentic, something that affects the climate and looking at the change that they want to see in the world. So then I, as the designer, have to figure out all the varieties of ways to bring that to them and what tools do we have there. Something that we did do is something called an end cam, where it's you can't, when we're filming it, you can see what's happening on headset, and then the people can see what's happening on TV, but all the people in the room can't see what's actually happening in front of you. So, but we're still bringing that content to those other people, and then we project it on TV. But it creates these weird kind of mediums that you have to figure out how to give everyone the same experience. So trying to figure out better tools in that sense of giving everyone that same experience that can opt into it and find it in the same engaging and exciting way is, I think, very important.
Yeah, great example. And Brenda, how about from your standpoint, what other tools, other ways that that we may not have ever imagined, but they suddenly seem to be adopting?
Yeah, so I'd say normally for game design, it's professional game designers that are using game engines like Unity, Unreal to actually build games. But now we're seeing platforms like Fortnite just released UEFN, which is a simpler version of Unreal that has a bunch of just ready-made Fortnite assets that makes it super easy for you to just build your own Fortnite creator game. And so that's now giving kids the agency to build whatever world they want. And then Roblox has Roblox Studio, and kids have made their whole college tuition just by building Roblox games that got really famous. So I think it's really interesting to see how game development isn't this super niche thing that's saved for professionals that have to go learn game design in school and how to code, and that it's becoming really accessible. And we have that in Minecraft too. I think one of my friends actually learned how to code playing Minecraft, and now he's a senior software engineer at Riot. So
wow.
Yeah.
So again, not just passing the time, kind of Saturday afternoon games, they're building their career as they go.
Yeah.
And Vera, just still the same question, but just from your perspective, because you've been studying these groups for quite some, and previous generations, is there more involvement with this group in the actual design? Like, is there more of them in what's being created, going in to the design of the games from your perspective and the design of the worlds?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because they're designing and developing whatever Roblox game or Minecraft, characters and avatars that they want to see. So definitely there. And then just going to your earlier question, or the main question around like what are some of the new tools? Just building on what Brenda said around like Snapchat now is allowing you to create more filters, for example, on their platform, and just it's just becoming increasingly more, I hate to use the D word, but democratized, and now even accessible to the point where, a teen, tween, even a child could create some of these things with pretty, really good results and fidelity than ever before.
That's great. And from the standpoint of, and again, this will be all conjecture, but what does that mean for existing platforms? As you mentioned, Brenda, Facebook and so on, Instagram. What do we think? And I'll start with you, Vera. Like, just as you look at today's tools, building on your last answer, what does it mean for what's out there now?
Well, I think the platforms themselves are starting to get, obviously AI. They're all incorporating more and more AI, where you're now able to maybe create your own non-playable characters. You're able to create like all these filters, and even with greater, more fantastical options than ever before, more interactive. Like all those kind of things are just really going to be like. It's been a huge unlock and will be, and we're just starting to see the early kind of manifestations of that.
Yeah, okay. Brenda, what's your prediction on Facebook? How many more years does it have?
I mean, people still use Facebook. Like, my grandma loves it, and like, I still have my Facebook account, right? And like, people use it for Facebook Marketplace. So I think Facebook itself still has a lot of utility to it. But I mean, there's also like Facebook Reality Labs. Like, they've been like a key leader in like the VR industry for a long time. So I think they still have like a lot of longevity. It's just kind of what can they do to kind of keep up with this new generation, because I don't think they're kind of tapping into like Gen Z and Gen Alpha yet, but I think they still have like a chokehold on all the other generations.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Meta, Facebook, like I do think actually, someone that we're all very critical of Facebook, right? But I think the hardware and the experiences they are producing are going to get that next generation, absolutely. Like, I would make a big bet on that. It's just how they tell that story and start to get the right content, and content is king there. But I think that those interactions and things are going to continue.
Cool. And I'm getting a bit of a signal that as they're getting back on track time-wise, but I'd love to ask each of you just for thoughts on what brands really seem to get it so far. Like, who's done a good job of really understanding Gen Z and Alpha? Maybe we'll start with yourself, Brenda.
I think, okay, this is a random one, but Claire's is doing like a really good job. Claire's is, I don't know if you guys are familiar, it's like that jewelry, it does like jewelry, kind of like clothing, fashion stuff for like girls, and it was more of like a 90s, like early 2000s brand. But now they just started this thing called like the collab, where they're actually tapping into like girls between like the ages of 7 and 17, and actually having them come in, help with the creative, the rebranding, photo shoots, like how they market their products. And so they're actually giving the next generation the agency to help create what they want to see as products, versus just like, oh, I think this is what Gen Z wants. They're actually having Gen Z, Gen Alpha come in and like collaborate with them. And I think that's really smart.
Perfect. Vera?
This is going to be a cop-out answer, but TikTok, of course. Can't ignore it, TikTok. It's huge amounts of time being spent, on average, depending on where you look at the data, an hour or two per user. TikTok claims it's about 2 hours per day per user.
Yes.
Okay, and there are largely Gen Z and Gen Alpha, so incredible amounts of time being spent there.
What have they done right, just in a nutshell?
They're best-in-class kind of algorithms. It is far beyond. It is what is driving engagement encouraging and stimulating. I mean, people are spending 2 hours because they are hyper personalizing what they think you will want to see and introducing net new things you did not think about, but yet for some reason you are interested in watching, and so you are just scrolling and scrolling for hours and hours.
Wow. Great example. Brandon, what's your...
I'll make it short, but Patagonia, I think, has done actually a great job of carrying, again, like cross-generational, where they have told the authentic story, and they come across genuine in the message that they're putting out, and then they actually clearly show it when they have like reuse of clothes and things like that. That speaks very well to the younger generation and continues to show.
Yeah, and it gets back to your earlier point about authenticity being so critical for this generation. And yeah. Now, do we have time for one question from the audience? One question.
Too quick.
Please.
With a lot of these new digital platforms, especially for the newer generation, is there like a lot of pressure into the whole microtransactions, monetization parts? Because like people who have hobbies, now we're seeing younger generations like make careers and make money out of that. So does that come up a lot in the strategic planning conversation?
Great question from Dominic. And just if you didn't hear it, it's all about monetization. How is that working within these tools in this generation? Brenda?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely like a huge thing. Like the only reason why large brands are entering into like Roblox and all these other things are to sell digital product, but also to create a relationship with the next generation so that they can actually sell things to them later. So it definitely is a huge part of it. And I think, yeah, did you want to? Oh, yeah. Actually, that was a thought.
Vera?
I was just going to find, it's obviously built into a lot of their sort of business models. So, Roblox, for example, has a cut of, that goes to literally the creators. So obviously a big part of their already thinking and the way they're driving revenue.
Yeah, so it's there. Brandon? Okay.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Okay, Vera, Brenda, and Brandon will be around if there's any more questions. And thanks very much.
Thank you.